We need reparations, we need vacations, we need blue strips for all the time we spent waiting. We gon' kill for what we owe, Joe, we not playing. Mr. President, I think it's time we get paid. I watch all of my people die. Why your people try to act like we commit crime? Get killed on TV, got our kids scared to go outside. It's time you pick a side. Before we turn this bitch up, Mr. President, better fall in line. Yeah, we don't need loans, we need what we owe. We need police to stop killing sisters inside their home. And when it happen and we burn this bitch down, they need to stop telling us we was wrong. Ay, and we need unity. We need the government to stop bringing drugs in our community. They better stop playing, we not the ones. You got guns and we got guns. We'll kill if you play with our funds. Yeah, how we supposed to restore when they don't give us more? When they got knees on our necks when we walk out the store? How we heal when they go to the park, kill a 12-year-old boy for killing, we ready for war. Yeah, and we need reparations, we need vacations, we need blue strips for all the time we spent waiting. We gon' kill for what we owe, Joe, we not playing. Mr. President, I think it's time we get paid.
Peace, peace. Greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, AKA Mr. Just the Facts. I don't know, man. I'm looking fuzzy right now. Y'all let me know if my camera is looking a little fuzzy. I might have to do a reset on this joint. Let me get some feedback in the audience. My camera is looking really, really fuzzy right now. I think it's just time to get a new one. Matter of fact, I've had this one for a couple years. Okay, so I'm coming to get my bike back. Said I'm good. All right, let me check. Yeah, somebody said it is fuzzy. So some seeing it fuzzy, some seeing it as good. Hold on. Let me see what's going on. Yeah, somebody said it is fuzzy. Okay, yeah. I don't know. We're going to try to get through it. I got people saying it's fuzzy. I got people saying it's good. What I'm gonna do is I'm a reset. I'm not gonna do the stream over, but I'm gonna refresh my page. So y'all just give me a second. Oh no, it won't let me do that. I don't think. I don't know, man. We gonna try to get through it. We just gonna try to get through it. So let's see. Today we're gonna be talking about this big beautiful bill act. This one big beautiful bill act. I don't know. I feel crazy because it feels like y'all can't see me good because I can't see me good. Let me see what happens if I refresh this thing. All right, there we go. Much better. Much better. All right, fam. Look, first and foremost, hit the like button, share the video out, subscribe to the YouTube channel. For those of you who are watching on X, head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. We need to keep our content in the algorithm, man. YouTube's algorithm. We've been, some of my bros believe that we've been shadow banned, and I'm starting to get to the point where I believe that. Our numbers on YouTube are crazy, but on X, we usually have a couple hundred people watching at a time. So for those of you who are on X right now, come on over to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe on the channel, hit that little bell icon next to the subscribe button so you could become a part of the Notification Nation and be informed every time BTP goes live. And share the video out. Let me click like on it. Whether you're watching on X, whether you're watching on Facebook, which is another place we're streaming to, or you're watching on YouTube, make sure you share the video out. Make sure you give me a like on the video. Okay, so we're going to start with this one big, beautiful bill. This act was passed today by the Senate. And I'm gonna speak about how this act has impacted American freedmen communities. And matter of fact, I forgot my shout out. Shout out BTP Riri is in the building. I'm coming to get my bike back. What's going on, fam? He said it's unfortunate that you brothers don't post more frequently, but we're trying to get back to that. We're trying to get back to that. What's going on, brother Jay Haru? KT, what's going on, KT? All right, so let's get into this thing and discuss it because I believe that it warrants discussion. I don't know. Look, my face look too smooth, like it got a filter on or something. I don't like that. It look like I got some makeup on, like I'm on an actual news channel. I gotta check my settings. I like my rugged, rough appearance. But anyway, I'm gonna pull up my notes and we're gonna get into it. The one big beautiful bill act is what some are calling a massive spending bill. If you watched the video that we did about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we broke down how the beef started between Elon Musk and Donald Trump over this particular bill. Elon is still pissed. Elon is right back to taking shots at Trump. Somebody asked Trump today, are you going to deport Elon? Trump was on some, hey, he told Elon in a tweet, you could go back, you could pack up your stuff and go back to your own country, right? So there's a beef going on about this bill, but nobody's talking about how it impacts us, especially in the mainstream media. Right now, we may get some left-wing media that will talk about the bill in a way that, not in a way that we're going to break it down today, but in a way solely to make the Republicans look bad and the Democrats look good, while many of those people are in different tax brackets and they will, in fact, benefit from this bill. So after narrowly passing the Senate, this one big, beautiful bill act, typical Donald Trump name, is now returning to the House of Representatives for reconsideration. And why is that? It's because it already passed through the House. But there were some debates, especially in the Senate version, and amendments had to be made to the bill. And that bill now has to go back to the House for reconsideration with those amendments. If the House approves of those amendments, then we're going to see this bill get passed. Elon has threatened, he had like a Pinocchio meme up, and he said, whoever votes on this bill, your face is going to go on this meme. And he threatened to primary everybody that votes on this bill. So I'm guessing that means he's going to primary people in the Senate and in the House. Elon got long money. Let's just be honest. Elon has long enough money to back every opponent of everybody from the House and the Senate who backs this bill. So this is going to be an interesting fight moving forward. Elon is proposing, as we shared the last live stream, a third party. He's proposing doing a third party, and hey, it's crazy. I asked some of my people on the Black conservative side, how do you feel about this? And they was like, Elon shouldn't have taken his ball and gone home, or what I characterize this taking his spaceships and going home. They said he should have focused on just primarying those Republicans who signed on or support this bill with the purpose of taking over the Republican Party, which is something that we've proposed on this platform as well. So give me 1 second. Something we proposed on this platform as well. So this thing is politically spicy, and it's not a right-left fight. It is a right-right fight, which is making it all the more intriguing in the political theater, right? So what's at stake for Freedmen families? We're going to get to a little deeper into some of that, but these are the points that I have pulled up right now. Healthcare access. Millions of American freedmen can be removed from Medicaid, especially in states with poor safety nets and large freedmen populations. Food security. Stricter work requirements may disqualify vulnerable families from SNAP, even if they're looking for work or caregiving. State discretion. The bill gives more power to states with the long track record of excluding our communities from benefits. So this is something for us to look out for and possibly rally behind. Now, it's a double-edged sword because I don't want us to be reliant upon welfare anymore. It's like the time for that is over. But the other thing that this bill does not do is invest in our community. So there's no provisions in this particular bill to repair any of the harms done to American freedmen families. There's no education, housing, business investments, or nothing, which means that you would have to do a separate bill. And if they are complaining, the right is complaining about the price tag of this bill, then how do you do a separate bill? These are some of the things that we have to consider. And I want to be clear, man, I'm not calling for our people to remain on these welfare rolls, as that time is over. But we are the products of generations of disinvestment. What happens when you start changing this stuff up? I'm gonna get into Clinton's welfare to work program. Did that work, or was it a failure? I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. So right now I'm gonna get into some more of my notes. How the One Big Beautiful Bill Act would impact American freedmen, aka American blacks. Major negative impacts, like I said earlier, massive healthcare coverage losses. 10.9 million Americans are projected to lose health insurance coverage overall. 7.8 million people specifically losing Medicaid coverage. 4.8 million low-income adults losing coverage due to new work requirements. And our people are already disproportionately enrolled in Medicaid expansion programs that will face the deepest cuts. So, it's tough when you mature politically and you are still a freedom fighter and you understand the balance. But you see that these things are designed. I don't want to just throw the word designed out there, but it appears that they are designed to hurt American freedmen. If you remove millions of American freedmen off Medicaid, what do you replace that with? You can't just say private insurance, because American freedmen are generally the poorest population group in this country, and so they will not have the funds to afford private insurance. What then? Punitive work requirement. So punitive means punishment, basically. 80 hours per month work requirement for Medicaid recipients aged 19 to 64 without dependents. Requirements start December 2026, moved up from the original 2029 timeline. So they're trying to get this thing in pretty much before Trump gets out of office. The original timeline was 2029, but now they've sped up that timeline. So by next year, we can be looking at a sharecropper state for American freedmen. Let's just call it what it looks like. Let's call it, because that's what it was in New York. I remember, I lived through it. Arkansas, for example, experience shows 25% of people subject to work requirements lost coverage, mostly due to paperwork failures, not actual unemployment. Not unemployment, but paperwork failures. So this thing has historically been a tragic failure. Research shows that work requirements reduce coverage without increasing employment. So the goal was, in the original version, to get people to work for welfare, to get them used to working. Like, a part of you can agree with that. But the problem was, these people were just used, and they were largely our people, for cheap labor. Cheap labor, and that was it. And then they went right back to just being regular welfare recipients. There was no transition into employment. We are the largest unemployed group in the country. Immigrants have taken precedent over us in many jobs, low skill and skilled labor. So how does this fare for American freedmen? On its face, it doesn't look good. I ran the bill through every AI bot, I guess, that I have. And I asked that specific question: how does this bill help or hurt? I didn't ask a biased question. I didn't just say hurt. I said help or hurt. And the overall conclusion was it hurts us, and it will hurt us in the long run. And this is what happens when we don't have a political voice and we cannot exact our political will. By the end of this live stream, I will do what we always do at Be the Power. I will speak to solutions. I will speak to the solutions. So let me see. Go back. Let's look at the SNAP assistance cuts. 6 million adults at risk of losing SNAP benefits. Work requirement age raised from 54 to 64 years old. Like, I don't know what retirement age is, but this is nasty work. This is nasty work. So they're saying that if you're 60 years old, you have to get out there and work for these pennies, which can't lead into gainful employment. You're 60 years old. At what point does the safety net of society capture those that cannot do the work anymore? That's what the safety net is supposed to be for. This, to me, it makes no sense. None. Parents with children over 6 now subject to work requirements. Previously, in the previous version of the bill, they were exempt. Who's going to take care of the 6-year-old if you cannot afford childcare? How does any of this work? And how does any of it benefit American freedmen families in this country? And I would love for someone that's watching to come up and give a breakdown that shows that this thing will work. Let me see. I may touch on this tomorrow, Jerome Page. He said, off topic, have the current quote unquote birthright citizens lost their citizenship? No, because we're the only birthright citizens, or the original birthright citizens, and we can never ever lose our citizenship. But Sister Shayna said, I'm worried that my state's Medicaid waiver program will be defunded or shut down. I use that program to pay for my kids' therapies associated with their autism diagnosis. We have valid concerns about this OBBBA, this one big, beautiful bill act, because it appears that it hurts us more than anybody. Like we gotta call it for what it is. We are not on the side, and I want to be clear before I continue. We are not on the side of any political party. We are a self-interested advocacy group. I want that to be perfectly clear. But we had to get the major impediment up out of the way, and that was the Democratic Party. They were in our way. They were, as Malcolm said in his analogy, the foxes. You remember Malcolm said that the conservatives are like wolves, right? They show you their teeth. They gnash their teeth at you, while the liberals are like foxes, right? Foxes sit there with that smile and you walk up to it and pet it, but it chews you up all the same. And we got so used to walking up to that fox and just petting it. And one by one, we were being devoured. Generation after generation being devoured by the foxes. So I don't want anybody to mistake our political position. Remember, we are not right. We are not left. We are above center. We are the day one citizens of this country. So we hold some type of weight and sway in this country, and we will not be ignored. Y'all stay tuned. I'm going to give a breakdown towards the end for solutions. All right. So states must cover 5 to 25% of SNAP costs based on error rates. So I didn't look that up, and I should have looked that up. States must cover 5 to 25% of SNAP costs based on error rates. I don't know what that means. I guess I can throw that in one of the AI joints in a few minutes. A 36% reduction in SNAP funding by 2034. Look, I'm all for it if we're going to be placed in meaningful work. If our people are going to be, will the states use this money to do workforce training so that our people can get the high-skilled jobs that they need. I'm gonna touch on all of that in a few. Healthcare access restrictions, $35 copays for Medicaid recipients above poverty level. Medicaid eligibility checks every 6 months instead of annually. Ban on Medicaid funding for gender-affirming care. I agree with that. Cuts to Planned Parenthood funding. I definitely agree with that. Ban on state coverage of undocumented immigrants. Penalizes expansion states. I definitely agree with that. I agree with that. Now, the problem here is the first, where it says $35 copays for Medicaid recipients above poverty level. What is the poverty level in the United States of America? I believe it's $25,100 or $21,500. Somebody put it in the chat and correct me if I'm wrong. Either way, that's rent money for the year. That's rent money. That's pretty much a person's rent. This is something that is going to be extremely harsh on American freedmen families. And we reject this bill. We hope that it doesn't get passed. I agree with Elon. I agree for different reasons, even though I don't rock with him, but I agree. This makes no sense. And then when you look at the other provisions, it's another case of the rich getting richer and the poor not getting an effing thing. Because that's exactly what's going to happen with this bill. I was watching a video earlier of Bernie Sanders giving a breakdown. You know, I love that we're in this AI age now, because you could just put certain stuff in and just have it, fact check right there on the spot. And most of what he said about these millionaires and billionaires padding their pockets while those at the bottom suffer more was on point. It's on point. This thing, when it comes to American freedmen, is not needed. It's just not. I don't see I don't see the use for it. Just don't. Let's see. Geographic and economic impact. State level disparities. Medicaid expansion states face 14.5% average cuts versus 7.9% for non-expansion states. So let me break that down real quick. I don't want to keep skipping over stuff. Let's see. Let's see. What does that mean? States that expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act will face average federal funding cuts of 14.5% compared to only 7.9% cuts for those states that did not expand. So basically, if you accepted Obamacare as a state, your funding is going to be cut 14.5%. If you're a state that didn't accept it, did not expand under Medicaid, your cut is only going to be 7.9%. That's crazy. That is just crazy to me. Why this matters. Medicaid expansion states, mostly Democratic leaning, enrolled more low-income adults, including many freedmen families. These states now face deeper financial losses, putting pressure on them to cut services or tighten eligibility. This creates an uneven burden, penalizing states that try to broaden healthcare access. In effect, the bill hits pro-safety net states harder, punishing efforts to expand care to the working poor. Again, if this thing is for, if let me reword that. If we're going to usher in jobs, if we're going to bring our people to the point where they become the working class in these states, then it's hard for me to have a problem with a lot of this stuff. But if you're going to penalize these states, especially those that are heavily American Freedmen centered, that's a tough one, man. I reject it. It's not tough for me to reject. I 100% reject it. And I want to be clear. I am not for our people being lifelong recipients of these welfare programs. This stuff should have ended generations ago. But the racists in this country, the bigots in this country chose to box us out. They chose to then create crime bills while bringing in drugs through the Iran-Contra scandal that just somehow landed in American Freedmen neighborhoods. Just saying, man. Like, we got to organize, family. It is time for us to organize. All of this just talking about it is over. That's why, the brother was saying we need to do more shows on the platform. I'm just so far past the talking about it stage. I'm organizing where I am, and we're urging all of our people to do that. But I also know that this is what we've been doing on this platform, and I also believe that that should continue. So let me see. It says, back to state level disparities. It says, Southern states with large Black populations particularly affected. Now, every AI that I put this through said the same. When it first came out, I put it through Grok. I asked Grok the same exact question. That's Elon's Grok. It gave me pretty much the same exact answers. Same exact answers. Rural areas hit hardest. 40% of children in small towns rely on Medicaid. So this thing is going, I was listening to some right-wingers earlier, white right-wingers, and they were debating about this thing. You had this one guy calling it the big ugly bill. He was like, there's nothing beautiful about this at all. And, I listened to him, and he was giving a good breakdown from what I can understand. Let's move to the next point. Economic ripple effects. $863 billion in federal Medicaid cuts over 10 years. Now, if you remove all of the illegal illegal immigrants that have come into this country, I don't know how that looks, but we cannot escape the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is that our people are stuck on Medicaid. It's something that helps people. It has helped me. I can tell you that. I have no shame in my game in saying it at all. $295 billion in SNAP cuts over 10 years. $295 billion in SNAP cuts over 10 years. Now, here is where the ripple effects start to affect us in a certain type of way. It says job losses in healthcare and food sectors where many Black Americans work. Reduced economic activity in communities with high program participation. So let's throw that part up in there. Job losses in healthcare and food sectors where many Black Americans work. Okay. All right. So it says the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is expected to cause job losses in the healthcare and food assistance sectors, which employ a disproportionate number of Black Americans, especially women. Why this matters: cuts to Medicaid and SNAP mean fewer funds for hospitals, clinics, and food programs. This leads to staff reductions, closures, and job cuts in frontline roles like home health aides, nurses, administrative workers, and food service coordinators. Many Black workers in these sectors face economic displacement, losing jobs while their communities also lose services. In short, the bill risks double harm: eliminating essential jobs and reducing critical support in freedmen communities. We got to look at this thing for what it is. You have to look at it for what it is. This thing is not good. It's not good. And in many ways, it is, like we always say, an anchor on the neck of American freedmen and a flotation device for those who are already living good in this country. And, to speak to other groups that are below the poverty line, they too will be negatively affected. But if you know about the Mississippi plan, and if that's what this is, the Mississippi plan, they designed it to remove American freedmen from their voter rolls. And in doing so, let's just say they removed 10,000 freedmen. They would remove 2,000 whites to say, no, we didn't just remove Blacks or the Negroes or colored folks, whatever they called us back then. We removed whites too. Look, this guy fought in the Confederacy. Like, this was literally what they did. They were removing people from the voting rolls that fought on the side of the Confederacy. Just in case this thing went to court, they can say, look, I don't know if that's what this is, but it sure seems that way to me. Sure seems that way to me. Administrative burden reality. Complex reporting requirements for work verification. So this is where this thing is going to get a little crazy. Hold on. All right. So administrative burden reality, bureaucratic barriers, complex reporting requirements for work verification. Complex, like I've been reading this stuff for the past several hours, and this thing is not going to go the way people think it's going to. This thing is going to go, or at least the Republicans, is going to go horrible. It's going to go horrible. Monthly documentation needed to maintain coverage. States have limited capacity to match employment databases. Red tape causes coverage loss, even for people who are working. Poor data matching means working people get dropped from programs. There's a such thing called the working poor in the United States of America. The working poor are going to be adversely affected as the non-working poor. This is something that we have to contend with. And again, as a burgeoning political advocacy movement, we gotta start the process of organizing. We have to. We cannot sit here and let stuff like this just fly in our faces. It doesn't matter who it's coming from, the right or the left, because the left does the same exact thing. The only difference is the focus goes on everybody else except us in the reverse. They use us, but we never receive any of the benefits, which is why the bill breakdown is telling you how much things will become worse for American freedmen, because they got no better under Biden Harris in the past 4 years. And that's a fact. So limited potential benefits. 3 things came up for potential benefits. 1, child tax credit increases to $2,500, but only through 2028. So you only got 2 years to enjoy that child tax credit increase. Tax deduction for tips and overtime. You know, okay, I'm cool with that. These benefits unlikely to offset massive coverage losses for low-income families. There's no offsetting there. None. Zero. We got our brother Ali in the building. What's going on?
All right, peace to the family. You going in, huh?
Say it again.
Said you going in.
Yeah, breaking down this so-called one big beautiful bill. And what they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
Well, this looks very ugly to me, bro. Very, very ugly. Yeah, man. So was there anything you heard you wanted to touch on before I get through the rest of these notes?
Nah, let's just go through it, man, and then we talk. We talk as you're doing it.
Definitely. Research-based projections. What studies show about work requirements? They do not increase employment in target populations. I'm going to pull up an article in a few. This thing already failed. It's a failure. When you have millionaire and billionaire donors that donate to campaigns and you make certain promises, then you do things like bomb Iran and this ugly bill right here. That's all it is. The typical political, you wash my back, I wash yours. As simple as that. And this bill is very half a MAGA. From what I've been able to see, they're not feeling this bill. So this is deeper than a left-right issue. It's much deeper. So it increases uninsurance rates. What's going to happen is way more people are going to be uninsured when this thing takes effect. And when America catches a cold, American freedmen get COVID. It's as simple as that. This is going to impact us in ways that I don't know how we'll be able to measure maybe 6, 7, 8 years from now. It's hard to determine. Even the AI models, their estimates are crazy, saying that this thing does not benefit us at any point. At any point. Let's see. Create administrative costs that burden state systems. Disproportionately affect people with disabilities, caregiving responsibilities, and irregular work schedules. Of course, if you're doing caregiving responsibilities and you have cuts, deep, deep cuts to Medicaid, which helps to fund these caregiving responsibilities, what happens to the elderly? Do they just die? Right? This thing is, I don't know if they thought this through. I don't know. But it passed in the Senate by one vote. 3 Republicans rejected it. I can't remember their name. Tillis, Massey, I think is one of them, and I can't remember the other one. They rejected this thing. They rejected it. So I don't if it's going back to the House and Elon has made that threat, I'm so curious to see if this thing passes. Mixed results. Mm-hmm. The mixed results. In other programs like TANF, slight employment gains offset by income losses from people removed from programs. So let's get an explanation on that as well. What does that mean exactly?
Allegedly, they want to remove undocumented people from it. I mean, just from what I heard, I don't know what the bill actually says, but I've heard some of them talking about the process of, removing undocumented immigrants or illegal aliens from the programs there. And then supposedly putting Americans first. I don't know what they mean by that, but that's what they said.
So it says this, what the proposed data shows. What the proposed data shows. We got Brother Josh in the building. The proposed data shows this. A slight, hold on. All right. Slight increases in employment were seen among recipients pushed into the workforce. So they're going off of the old program and they're superimposing it onto how this may work, right? It says, but these gains were often offset by overall income losses because many got low-wage, unstable jobs. So you got a job that was not that much better than being on TANF. It's like, this isn't, and then it was unstable. You get let go from this job or let go from that job. And many of those jobs, the lowest paying jobs in America are the ones where you do the hardest work. Don't believe me? Go look at what a person that drives a forklift makes compared to the person that's working in the plant. Look at what the engineers make, the maintenance mechanics in a warehouse who barely do any work compared to the people that's literally working 8, 10, 12 hours straight, excluding their breaks. Just saying, this thing is ugly. Let me see. Others were removed from aid programs without securing employment. So that is not a positive at all. Families ended up worse off financially than when they received support, which is exactly what I said at the first point. Why it matters. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act uses a similar strategy, imposing work requirements without addressing barriers like childcare, transportation, or job access. The likely result, more people working, but for less income and less stability, especially in freedmen households. Again, it brings us back to the fact that we've never been repaired and we need infusions of capital in our communities. Point blank, period. Point blank, period. So, I don't see how anybody thinks that this is a good bill. Maybe one of them black Republicans like Javon is watching. Javon, if you're watching, jump on, come in the post a comment and jump on here because you praise everything that Trump does. Whether everybody else sees it as bad, you still praise him for it. So I would love for you to come on here and give a breakdown. Show me how this thing is good for us. So the last of my notes says this: bottom line impact on American freedmen. The research indicates overwhelmingly negative consequences. Again, I broke the bill up because it's too large to put in any one of the AI bots. So you have to break it up into 3. This is how much of that the text is in the bill. They made it that they typically, when they make bills 1,100 pages like that, they're not expecting Americans to read the bill. But the benefit,
they're
hiding a lot of stuff. And the benefit of having AI in today's day and time is that we can just throw this stuff when it's too much to read in the AI, have it do a deep analysis, and then ask it specific questions like, how will this hurt or help my people, the American freedmen, aka American blacks? And let's get through these last points. Health coverage crisis. Point number 1. This is of the negative consequences based on the bottom line impact on our people. A health coverage crisis. Millions of our people would lose Medicaid coverage due to bureaucratic barriers, not actual ineligibility. So bureaucratic nonsense, not because they are ineligible. Why? Because this thing is going to be basically a states' right issue. The states are going to determine, and I'm going to get into that in a few. I got an article I'm going to get to. Food insecurity. Expanded SNAP work requirements would reduce food assistance for working families and older adults. 3, economic harm. Reduced federal investments in safety net programs would trigger job losses and economic decline in communities with high American freedmen populations. 4, health disparities. Increased copays. Think about that. Increased copays for the group that's least employed. We have the highest unemployment in the country and the most impoverished in the nation. We're going to get increased copays on top of reduced provider funding and coverage losses, which would worsen existing health inequities. So this thing is not going to be better for us. It's going to be worse. 5, administrative punishment. This is the last point. Complex reporting requirements would create barriers that research shows disproportionately cause coverage loss without achieving employment goals. If a place like Mississippi is already poor, especially when it comes to American freedmen, already has high unemployment rates, already has limited Medicaid programs on the things that it covers. We're not going to fill your teeth. It's like they did in Georgia. We're not going to fill your teeth. We're just going to pull them out because you don't have Medicaid and you don't have any proper coverage. We're not going to waste this cheap little filling that they put in your mouth. We're just going to pull the tooth out of your mouth, which requires way more effort, which is exactly what they were doing. So many people complained about that when I first moved to Georgia. And now you're going to add this behemoth on top of all of that. Now, okay, it ends with this. The Congressional Budget Office analysis confirms that these policies would increase uninsurance without increasing employment, suggesting they create harm without achieving their stated economic objectives for American freedmen who face higher rates of poverty and rely more heavily on these safety net programs, the cumulative impact would likely exacerbate existing economic and health disparities. This is not a fiscally conservative policy overall, but it fulfills the conservatives' states' rights push to do what it will with federal funds and how they'll be distributed. It's a trade-off, if you will, to where that's my notes at the end of me in my full observation and breaking this down. So, Ali, man, what are your thoughts on this big, beautiful bill and how it's going to impact our people?
Obviously, it's going to impact our people negatively, especially those who, I mean, look, you already pointed it out, man, the unemployment rates, the people who are on these benefit programs, particularly like our sister in the chat pointed out, she's afraid that, it'll defund the program in her state, which she uses to help with her, with her children who are dealing with certain, issues that she has to, has to deal with as a mom. And it's just, health issues, you know what I mean? And it's just unfortunate that, that you have people it's unfortunate that we can't get people who are truly going to put America first. They'll say that kind of stuff, right? The Republicans are saying that, but it's really just it's just really like BS talk, right? They're just only saying that because they're trying to make the Democrats look bad, which the Democrats don't really need any help with looking bad because they're doing it on their own.
That is
But
a fact.
they're rubbing that in with that America First stuff because they know that the Democrats were very heavy with promoting, pushing for illegal aliens to be able to enter the country without being checked. And so they're coming with this America First thing. But it's just so unfortunate that we can't get any of these devils to actually be America First. Everything is just talk with these people. It's always talk. Nothing's ever real. Nothing's ever real. And so, that's what I say. It's like out of the frying pan into the fire kind of thing. We can't get anybody to do right. Can't get anybody to do right. And it's just unfortunate.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Brother Josh, what are your thoughts on this one big, beautiful bill act and the negative impact that it will have on American freedmen families? Brother Josh. All right, Brother Josh may be a little preoccupied at the time. Our sister Shayna says American freedmen are the only group of people who have truly put America first, past, present, and future. That is an absolute fact.
Man, come on. That is so profound.
That's
Because,
right.
like, you got to think about this. These people, the so-called white people, are the ones who tried to overthrow the country, right? During the Civil War. They tried to overthrow the country. So they can never say that they were always America first. That's not true. They were trying to split the country up. If it was up to them, they would have absolutely done that, right? Over certain issues. And then when you talk about all of these immigrants coming in after the Civil War, none of these people are, none of these people are about America. These people are leeches. They're leeches here to suck up whatever resources that this country has to offer, from the European ones to the Asian ones to the Middle Eastern ones to the Latino ones to the African ones to the the Caribbean. Everybody comes here to take. Nobody's really trying to contribute to the country. Not really. Not really. They're here to take and send remittances back to wherever they came from. Right. So that's the whole thing. And a lot of them are really anti-American. So she's absolutely 100% right We're the only people who have ever truly put America first. The only ones, nobody else, man.
That's a fact. Brother Josh, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Let me
Yes,
say real quick. This is why, Sister Shayna, you already know. It's Freedmen first, Freedmen forever. We are now looking out for ourselves first and foremost. Point blank, period. Go ahead, Brother Josh.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, this when I think about anything that's coming out from the Congress, it's like, are they gonna have the freedmen in mind? And if they do have the freedmen in mind, is it to do something to help, or is it to do something to exploit? I don't know if they have us in mind at all.
Mm,
I don't know if they have us in mind at all, but I think it's because we just still don't have a whole lot of power that we're exerting in America. And what happens is um, we continue to fall victim to whatever policies that affect the masses of people and affect people at the bottom, because we don't have any representation at the top. We don't have any class of people at the top. We look in the media and we see the media is talking about Diddy, and you might see at this time of year you got the NBA free agency and you got a bunch of basketball players and they're getting millions of dollars. But let's keep in mind they may be frequent in front of the camera and in the news, but they are not frequent in the economy. We're not frequent when it comes to the numbers of people that are capitalizing in these moments. So yeah, I was looking um, and asking some of the AI models to try to understand like um, how this can actually quantitatively be antithetical to the cause of reparations, because we have these disparities that exist, and these disparities don't exist because we just came to the country this week, this year, this decade, this century. These disparities exist because of generational experience here in America, which was, uh, you know, being robbed of our life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, being robbed of our labor, um, being robbed of property, all these type of things. So, and being robbed of opportunity, equal opportunity. And so the accumulation of that and the compounding of that now creates all these disparities. So I was trying to figure out uh, how do these disparities look, or how would they look if you talked about comparing it to what possibly this bill could do, or the effects of this bill. And so we look at um, wealth, obviously, and you got freedmen having us only a small percentage of the wealth. I don't have the number in front of me at the present moment, but and I was trying to pull it up. But yeah, freedmen only have a small percentage of the wealth, and this bill is likely going to widen. If you think about the split, if you talk about the tax split with freedmen only having a small percentage of the businesses and only having a small percentage of people at the top, if the taxation is going to hit the bottom and not the top more, obviously you're messing up the um, the trajectory of being able to close that gap, because you're taking more from the people that have less already, and you're not taking from the people at the top. If you want to talk about, it says the white to freeman wealth multiple rises probably from 6.3 times to 6.5 times. So that means it's probably going to be like an extra $16,000 of widening per median household wealth. So this bill it's going to probably increase the wealth gap. It says only 1 in 20 Black households fall in the top quintile, over half at the bottom 2 quintiles. So, yeah, it's basically saying that the wealth gap is gonna widen. I did the projections here. The freedmen to white wealth gap is going to be widened about $16,000 at the median. You know, and that's coming from the that when you take depreciating assets out. Let's see here. It says on Medicare. I mean, that's going to be a huge loss there. The Medicaid cuts. That's going to be a huge loss. I don't have all this numbers compiled, but just understand that, you know, I know y'all talked about the Pell Grants lesson. I mean, we disproportionately more dependent on that. So the projection, it says 70,000 fewer freedmen bachelor degrees over a decade. So which they can equate that to about $16 billion in foregone lifetime earnings. So just understand that it says because college completion drives 31% of existing wealth gap, this change locks in another generation of disparity. That's crazy. See, like when we think about these bills, we don't often think about them in terms of what is the number? Like, how is this going to work? Like, I know we can talk about what can possibly happen, but does anybody ever run the numbers? And does anybody else consider the fact that some of these numbers are going to include you or your family, your children, or your parents, or your sister, your brother? Like, these are not just going to be numbers. These are going to be people that you know that and maybe even you. Freedmen are 24% of SNAP households, which is about 480,000 families, and it says roughly about 480,000 families who see partial or full loss. And child hunger episodes are tied to. Let me better understand this here. It says at current incidence, that implies about 3 to 4 billion in discounted lifetime earnings lost each entering cohort of freedmen children. Like, these are tangible results. And I mean, I don't want to go through all of this because I had it basically saying that the wealth gap is going to be about a 16,000 median wealth gap widening. It's going to be about 3.5 million health losses in health coverage. So that's going to be an increase, a widening of that disparity. About a 70,000 fewer college graduates, which that's going to widen that gap. As far as food security, it's going to be about $700 per family per year in increasing the food security disparity, and it's going to be about an extra 760 deaths per year as far as environmental health casualties. So this is the Freedman hit that is likely to happen from this bill, according to the model, the AI model that I ran.
Crazy, man. Crazy. Jabir Yu says, seems like one side sends out to the rich and well off, and the other side sends it to illegal aliens. Both sides aren't doing shit for us, though. And that's a fact. That's a fact. And this is why, you know, and after this, I want to get into this article a little bit. Why does this pop? All right, this is a Vox article. It's asking me to become a member. I don't want to become a member. I just want to read the title of this article. It was published January 2016. If the goal, let me see if I can share it before that thing pops back up. If the goal was to get rid of poverty, we failed. The legacy of the 1996 welfare reform. And then this thing pops up. So what I'll do is I'll put this link in the chat for everybody. And I have some notes from this. And, you know, of course, we won't be able to get through all of it because this is a large article. But I've read most of that article, and I'm like, this is, I mean, I don't see how you try to do the same thing that failed that failed the first time. So let me see. It was something specifically that I wanted to read. Let me see. I mean, it pretty much. I want to read all of this, but it's not a lot. But I don't want to read all of it, so I'll get through some of it. While overall poverty rates initially fell in the 1990s, especially with the economic boom and the earned income tax credit expansion, deep poverty, living below 50% of the poverty line, did not see a comparable reduction, and by 2012 was back close to its 1993 level. See, these are points that we have to memorize. So when we're talking to the people on the left who try to tout some type of, because they always say when Democrats are in office, there's this bump. Bump for who? Because we never or almost never hear politicians starting from the bottom. They start from the middle up. Middle class working families. We have to do this and ensure that middle class working families, right? They start from the middle up. There's no consideration for those of us who are at the very bottom. And any consideration that's given, it's only out of a concern that safety nets are going to be tampered with. No, y'all vote for us because these people want to tamper with the safety net. We don't want to pull you from off of the safety net. No, y'all just keep bouncing around on the net trying to get out of it, right? But make sure you vote for us because, well, they want to just cut the whole net out and then you're just going to be on the ground, which is almost no different. It's no difference. The deep poverty rate in 1996 was 4.6%. But since the end of the late 90s boom in 2001, it has never been that low again. Now, and again, we don't know how that looks for American freedmen. When you're adding in millions and millions of immigrants during this time who are receiving economic hand-ups and handouts from the government. I know I talked to people who migrated here and whose families migrated here, and they have told me firsthand what the government has done to help them. Period. So when you're speaking about deep poverty rates, how does that affect American freedmen specifically? This is why disaggregation of data is so important. And this is why the Black buffer class, whom some call the boule, who cape for the Democratic Party, fight us so much because they want to be able to lean on skewed statistics when going at the right and trying to convince us to stay aligned with the party. Research by Luke Schaefer, let me see. Okay, research by Luke Schaefer and Catherine Eden documented a 153% increase in households with children living on less than $2 a day. See, this is the part where I wanted to get to. Okay, matter of fact, let's scroll down here. This dramatic increase in extreme poverty is largely viewed as a direct result of welfare reform, disproportionately affecting vulnerable groups like single women and households with children. That's American freedmen for the most part. The Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF program, which replaced the AFDC, did significantly less to lift households above the $2 a day threshold. In 2011, it was assisting only about 291,000 households compared to 1.15 million households under AFDC in 1996. Many extremely poor families now rely on desperate measures like selling plasma or selling their food stamps for cash, as cash welfare is no longer seen as a fallback. Many of us know people that sell food stamps. Many of us know people that buy them. And I don't know if admitting that on camera will get anybody in trouble. So I'm not going to admit that I do that on camera. It is what it is. Like, I'm just like, I'll give you what? 100 for 200 is something that goes down in the neighborhood, right? But the article says most of, let me see. Hold on. Let me go back. It says for many transitioning, all right, matter of fact, let me start from here. Reduced incomes from the poorest. Later research concluded that welfare reform actually reduced the total incomes of the poor. Now you want to implement something that's going to do the same exact thing, especially the poorest of the poor, even when accounting for increased earnings. For many transitioning from welfare to work, it did not result in monetary improvement. In fact, welfare would have often paid better than low-wage jobs they could obtain, which is what I broke down earlier. A direct quote from that article says, most of the welfare-reliant mothers we interviewed had an accurate view of the benefits they would lose by going to work. Eating and lean. See, for those people that say, oh, man, these black women especially, they'd rather just be on welfare than to go to work. They're repeating right-wing talking points. Right-wing talking points. Why? Because the states benefited. Man, all right, I'm going to pull this next thing up in a few, but the states benefit from the welfare funds more than the actual people do. They benefit more. I'm going to pull one more thing up. And if y'all want to touch on any of that, y'all can do that. And because I want to pull this piece up. All right, where's that graph at? Man, I'm trying to find. I had one link and it had these, like, there's a bunch of links, man. Matter of fact, I'm going to start putting some of these in the chat. They're breaking down what's going to happen with these bills. You start putting this stuff and how this bill is going to affect us. But there was one that had this particular chart that I wanted to show. Where in the world is it? I must have closed it out by accident. But one of these links that I had up, it had a specific chart showing that states benefit more from the SNAP programs and just the federal government welfare subsidies than the actual people do.
That's crazy. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, bro.
I didn't even consider that.
Oh, man, where is that one I had pulled up? But yeah, bro, is there anything you wanted to speak to that? I'm going to see if I can find it.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I had anything exactly to speak to that. I just wanted to speak to the general, fight that's going on. I don't know if y'all touched on it, but the fight that's going on with Elon Musk and Donald Trump is that's been getting kind of spicy today. I heard Trump today was talking about Elon is talking and stuff, and Elon is saying he's gonna any senator that votes for this, he's gonna make sure that they get primaried and they don't make it to the next they don't make it in office next time and all that. Excuse me. And Trump was like, hey, well, Elon, he's talking all kind of stuff. He's got more subsidies than anybody probably in history. And that may be true. And he's like, he keep on talking spicy. He can lose more than that. He can lose more than that. He's like, you know, we might need to put Doge on him. Matter of fact, we might need to send him out to South Africa.
Hey, he said, you could pack your stuff up and go back to your country.
We say pack you up,
pack you up, pack you all the way up, Elon. That's what Trump was saying. All right, so I love this AI stuff, man. I can't lie to y'all. This AI stuff is crazy because it was from the Vox article, and so I told the chat to extract the chart. So man, I can't get it no bigger than this. Let's see. Nope. It's making it smaller. That's weird. Okay. It's blowing it up. The smaller that is very weird, but as long as it's blowing up. Okay, so we see. Let us take a look at this. How states spent federal and state TANF funds in 2014. I want you all to look at this. So basic assistance was 26%. Work-related activities and supports, 8%. Child care, 16%. Administration and systems, 7%. Refundable tax credits, 8%. Other areas, 34%. One of the things that this article did, and that's what I'll do. One of the things that this article did, Josh, was it showed that these states were abusing these funds. It was so crazy. At the same time, states like Georgia were discouraging people from being enrolled in the TANF and SNAP programs. They were discouraging them, but keeping the money from the federal government. It was just one big scam, one big ruse. Now you're about to put this broad power to help the poor in your state into the hands of these states solely. Look at what Mississippi did with its federal funds for poor people. It chose to build a volleyball stadium for Brett Favre's daughter, who attended school there, and pay him millions of dollars to come speak. Speeches, if my memory serves me correctly, that he never gave. That he never gave.
Yep, I remember that.
So let me see.
And just took the money and then Shannon Sharp called him out on it, and he tried to sue Shannon Sharp for slander or libel or something like that. It's like, wow.
So look at what this is the bottom line of the Vox article. I threw it in chat. It says, let me see. Can y'all see that? Okay, perfect. It says, hold on. It says the Vox chart highlights how TANF was restructured away from direct family support. A blueprint, OBBBA, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, appears to follow, prioritizing work mandates and administrative control over real economic relief. We should expect similar outcomes, meaning less cash aid, more cut families, and new layers of bureaucracy hurting those who already struggle. Come on, man. This is something that we have to fight back against. This is a part of politics, and it is what it is. But we can't let our people be the welcome mat that you wipe your feet off. That was an analogy that I used to use all the time, that our people are the welcome mat that everybody get to wipe their feet on when they step into the home, the comfort of the home that is the United States of America. We can no longer be that. Before I move to the next phase, we got about 250 people watching on X. Why don't y'all come on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, click like on the video, show your support. Retweet the video, being that you're watching on X. If you're watching on YouTube, do the same. Click the like button, share the video out. If you're watching from Facebook, because we're also streaming from Facebook, do the same exact thing. Josh, I'm about to pull up the solutions, one of our solutions.
All right.
And was there anything you wanted to share before we got to that?
Nah, let's see these solutions.
Okay, perfect.
I can't wait to dive into that.
All right, now let me see. Yeah, because I tried to do this before, and this thing was acting funny. So let's see if I can. How that looks. Okay, perfect. All right, so we're calling this thing a threat. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act. How this bill undermines freedmen families. So it slashes Medicaid access across poor working communities. These are things that we touched on. It cuts food assistance through stricter work requirements, neo-slavery, if you ask me. It expands state control over federal programs. That has never ever worked in our favor. And no targeted investments in historically harmed freedmen population. So let's start breaking this thing down. The impact on freedmen families. Many freedmen households rely, it's unfortunate, but it's a fact. Many freedmen families rely on SNAP. Let me make sure that's okay. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that next screen was up. Rely on SNAP and Medicaid to survive. We shouldn't be at this point. When the safety net first started in the 1930s, America gave white America so much welfare that it helped build its working class. The white working class in the United States of America, especially along the Rust Belt, is largely due to the result of government handouts, government assistance, welfare. This is a historical fact. When it was time for us to get it, they severely reduced it and then complained about giving it to us. And they still made the same complaints on and on and on and on, because there's many people in this country that do not want American freedmen to have anything. Look at the reparations fight. And none of these people are bold enough to have a debate on reparations, because they would get absolutely smoked. And they know it. Work requirements ignore barriers like lack of childcare, job access, and transportation. States with the worst track records in equity gain more authority. Mississippi, we just gave an example. Freedmen communities are left out of the political conversation. Nobody that I heard speaking about it talked about American freedmen specifically. We are the only ones that I've heard, and I'm not saying I listened to everything that everybody shared, but I did my research today. Nobody's talking about it the way we are here on Be the Power. I'll bet you that. So you already know that one of our strategies is the Back South strategy. Our response should be strategic, not emotional. We're not going to do the Roland Martin, Jasmine Crockett, neck rolling, finger snapping, fake fingernail flicking responses to the problem, because that does nothing. What is the Back South strategy? A national movement for freedmen families to return to the South and concentrate political power, which builds strongholds in counties and cities where we can dominate local elections, establish control over policy, institutions, and community wealth building. Josh, how would the Back South strategy help us in this situation? Let me frame it for you. Let's just say we're in the state of North Carolina. Matter of fact, let's use Mississippi. Being that Mississippi is the state that we're using as an example. What happens if we have the dominant voting bloc in Mississippi and we vote our 2 senators who would have definitely not voted on this bill, our state reps, or maybe we say, yeah, maybe, Josh, let's think about this for a moment. If we have state control, maybe we say sure to this bill. Yeah, sure, because we're going to really take the resources and instead of using them for pork projects like building $1 million projects for a football player's daughter or giving speaking fees to that football player, or Ted DiBiase, who was a former WWF wrestler whose nickname was what was his name?
The $1 Million Man.
The $1 Million Man. Already, they took from the poor and gave to the rich. What are your thoughts on how we would handle this bill if we had state control?
I mean, if we had state control and we get resources, we would go and put those resources used for in our communities. We have the split has always been messed up. And I remember even going to look. I remember I was at this one meeting, and it was at the Black Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus Week, and there was this one guy. And he was from, I think he was from like Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or something. He won mayor of the city, and he was spending a lot of time talking about how the splits with the city contracts were messed up. Whereas the freedmen would, for years, it would just be boxed out. They just knew they weren't going to get access to them, even though they had businesses, and even though they wanted to get involved, it didn't make sense because they couldn't compete. So a lot of businesses that would otherwise have formed, because they would be able to form to compete equitably for city contracts, they knew they knew there was a good old boys network, so there was no use for them to even try to form. He was like, well, once he got in business, he basically made those people have to, essentially contract, or not the good old boys network. They didn't get their contracts. So in essence, he allowed the creation of new freedmen businesses because, hey, it's contracts that are available for you to get. And you can't say, I mean, listen, especially now with this one ruling, I mean, who's going to stop you, right? The ruling we talked about last week. But how we would do with a bunch of money that's going to the South that we're able to get in our hands, we would move forward with look at our schools, the schools in our community. A lot of schools even closed down. They're underfunded. We're not teaching up-to-date information. We don't have proper resources. The classrooms are too packed. We need way more teachers. Buildings need to be renovated and all of that kind of stuff. That's just in schools. We're talking about public facilities. We're talking about public education in terms of not just with the generalized school subject matter, but I'm talking about preparing kids for the future, like teaching them AI, teaching them the tools and skills that are going to help them be more competitive in today. We're talking about fixing broken infrastructure like sanitation, water. We're talking about crumbling infrastructure that's in our communities. We're talking about fighting against the poisoning of the communities via environmental contamination. You got a bunch of big factories, and they don't care about dumping in the water where the freedmen live in. They don't care about polluting the air. Like, we would be able to use resources to address these issues, and it wouldn't just be falling into the same old hands. But you got to have the power to do that. And so you got to get your people back in the South, so they can vote their freedmen representatives in. And then when that money passes, it flows to those representatives' hands. You already, not those representatives' hands, but those representatives are going to vote to make sure that money gets to the state, where you have freedom majority governors, mayors, etc., and that money gets allocated properly.
That's right. That's right. It's on us now. Everybody always asks, what can the rappers do? What can, no, well, I think we have a plan. I think we have a very solid plan. And it's one that's already been tried before and proven. It's not like it's some fanciful plan. It's just that we're working from a deficit. And everybody always asks, what can the entertainers and I think some of them genuinely want to do something, but they just don't really know what to do. And I believe that the plan that we have at Be the Power and United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen is something that is viable. So it is something that those that want to do something with the resources can get behind, because we need to start this relocation process. The government is not going to do it. They need us poor so that they can take the federal government's money and then do what they want to do with it. And if it was restricted then, imagine how much more it's going to be restricted now. Remember, it said that states that expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, they're going to receive a 14+% cut. Those states that didn't do that are only going to receive a 7.9% cut. They're penalizing those that pretty much needed the funds. I mean, what they were doing with the funds, we could have, we could do some research and have a different conversation about that. But we know for the most part what a lot of these red states have been doing with the funds. We know that for a fact. So while, yes, the blue Democratic cities that are nestled in these red states, they should get every bit of the criticism for the cities being the way that they are. But when we're looking at why resources are inflowing from the top of the state to the bottom, well, those are those whites that are in control there, the red people, if you will, not the blue people. It's the red people. See, researching all of this exposes all of that. Those things become excuses once you understand the facts. Once you understand the facts, they become excuses. So let's go to this next slide, right? We're on the solutions part of it. Why the South? For those that are newly watching, they may want to know why the South. It's where we can win. It's what Josh was just breaking down. Taking control over our political destinies and not relying on anybody. We won't have to rely on anybody. And even if we took the money from this bill, we would still be able to use it in the way that it was supposed to be used. We are the American freedmen, and we are the moral fiber of this country. This is why they go so hard to only point out the quote unquote bad blacks, right? They only highlight the crime. They don't highlight our successes. Crime is their go-to because they want to paint us as criminals. And then these very people receive funds from the federal government and withhold it from our people, and then turn around and talk about why there's so much crime. Just saying, man. This would produce the largest freedmen population by region, which we already have in the South. North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, Georgia, where else, man? Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, those states right there. Those states, cheaper land, lower taxes, and our family roots are there. Our family roots are there in the South. I don't care if you're in California. I don't care if you're in North Dakota. If you are an American freedman, you are going to be able to trace your family roots to one of these states in the South. And that is a fact. That is a fact. This fear of relocation, I say, Josh, all of the freedmen in Texas and in Florida should leave. people be like, no, we got strong freedmen families there. Yeah, it's like our tie has to now be to our political future more so. I was born and raised in New York City. I was the quintessential New Yorker, or my New York City-ish, till I became more politically aware and understood what was needed for us politically. And then I just gave a big middle finger to New York. You see the controversy the city has been mired in the past couple years with its mayor and now its new mayoral candidate. American Freedmen don't benefit either way. We don't benefit either way. Pathway to elect local officials, pass ordinances, and shape school boards in a way that's beneficial to American freedmen. Period. Period. It's like everything else, man, is just, you know, we're wishing upon a star at the end of the day. And that's not what we need to be doing. We can just move and make moves. And I know it's not that simple, but we're going to have to endure a little bit of pain. Spread out, that pain is distributed in a way that it doesn't concentrate to whereas we can assist each other. You bring us together and you got people from all of these different places and they start to help each other now because now we're in this new place. I know it sounds like a stretch, but the hippies did it in Vermont in the 60s and the 70s. Did it. We could start building our infrastructure from passive recipients to active builders. No more passive recipients. No more. Freedmen voter blocks. Target counties for political takeover. This is a real plan. This is a doable plan. We know they did it, the hippies did, in Vermont. Community health initiatives, private health cooperatives and care collectives where the federal funding may fail us or where we may come up short. We start to do it ourselves, for ourselves, with those that have the resources. You incentivize your doctors, your orthodontists to do some free work on a Saturday. Make sure the people in each community are doing good. Make sure their health is up to par and their teeth are good. In those states where they just pulled your teeth when all you needed was a filling. We can take that power into our own hands, and we will. We will. Those of you who are serious about doing something. Food access projects, right? Co-ops, gardens, and supply chains so that we can start the reduction of food insecurity. With the land, we can now start planting crops. We can now start owning acres of farms while still building intra-city co-ops and gardens. We're in control of this thing now. For those people that like that type of stuff, well, we have a pathway. Right? We got to be off the grid and we got to grow our own food. Well, come join United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. Come take hold to our plan, and you can do just that. And then make sure you're involved in the civic aspect of what it is that we're building. Youth and trade academies. Invest in education, trade, and leadership of our youth. See, we can start to do those things. Before the federal government ever did those things, private funders, private donors did those things. They did those things. Now we start teaching our people a quality education, not what the Daughters of the Confederacy taught or what liberals teach today, but actual especially actual American history and the things that help build up freedmen families, not take away from them, which is what we get with today's liberal education. Local political action committees fund campaigns, ballot initiatives, and lawsuits against anybody and everything that harms American freedmen. We can do this. This is something that's doable. Our goals, self-determined communities where American freedmen are writing the policies, creating voting blocks that are too large to ignore. See, when you start doing this thing in all of these different states that I named in the South, and you're able to field 2 senators from each state, your governors look just like me and Josh and Ali and the rest of my people that's in this chat. Well, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to run those states. We're going to build our own institutions and our own economic ecosystems. We're going to tap into the cryptocurrency market and see how that can be useful for our communities, because right now it's pretty much controlled by the quote unquote tech bros, whom are all damn near all white, damn near all right wingers. And we will use our numbers to determine who gets elected, who gets funded, and what laws get passed. We have a solution, family. We have a solution. Don't just fight the power is our motto. Become the power. Relocate with the purpose. If you're coming back to the South, understand that we can build something in the South. We must register and we must organize and dominate local elections. We must build, if we have to, parallel systems to the schools, health, food, and justice. Not necessarily the justice aspect of it, because we're not going to create our own tribunals, but we know that those people entrenched in these, especially freedmen areas, are typically judges that are white and racist and been there, especially in these southern states for the longest. So, when we say that, this is what we mean. How do we deal with our issues so that they don't get to courts and biased judges before we have a chance to simply remove them and replace them? Fund and defend Freedmen First policies from the ground up. This is a real, actual plan that we have at United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen and Be the Power. I mean, this is just what it is. This is what it is. We can complain. We can complain about the issues, man. We've been through enough complaining. Or we can actually do something about it. And I'm all for doing something about it. And I know many of you are as well. Tired of these people. Tired of benign neglect from the left, which ignores us. Well, uses us. It doesn't fully ignore us. It uses us and gives the benefits to everyone else, but ignores us. And then the right, which we're not even in their discussion. What happened to the Platinum Plan from the last administration? What happened to that? What happened to the Platinum Plan? What happened to the money that was going in that plan? Because that, what was it, $500 billion can be used in establishing a Freedmen Affairs Agency. Our people need remedy. If you're a Trump supporter, you know everything that we broke down tonight is 100% facts. You know it. You know it. We can't ever be afraid to push back against the politicians because we support them or voted for them, et cetera, et cetera. This bill is not good for us. for those of you just joining, we have almost 400 people watching right now on X. I mean, start this over from the beginning and listen to the breakdowns that we've given. It's a new day. It's a political renaissance happening. And for the first time in a long time, our people are involved in this political renaissance. We are helping to shape the discourse, but we're still being ignored. So now we have the 2026 election cycle, the midterms, to flex our political muscle now, to be the power. Who's willing to join us in that fight? Go to bethepower.org and join our email list. Go to usadof.org. Join our email list. It is time for us to get busy. No more talking about it. It's time to be about it. People always ask, why you don't do the spaces? I'm just tired of talking about it, man. When I go to Charlotte and I sit down at the man-to-man meetings, we're discussing actual plans and we're linking up with people that have similar goals and ideas, and we're matching certain people that come to those meetings with certain other people that have resources for them. This is what I'm talking about. Doing stuff. And we have to now, those of us that have been in this space, that's watching, especially from X right now. It's 355 people watching from X. Most of you that are watching, y'all know exactly who we are. Y'all know what we've been promoting for the past 6 years in this space. And it's time to shake the nonsensical babble that's being done in these Twitter spaces. It's time to shake that stuff, and it's time to just get busy. We are doing great works in the state of Massachusetts. Great work. I'll just imagine what would happen if we were doing that work in about 12 or 13 states. Everybody they just want to go run and yap. It's like, that's not going to get anything done. It's not going to get anything done. Brother Josh, we did a breakdown to Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And when it comes to America, I might play Bernie Sanders' video too. I thought he did a great, I'm no fan of Bernie at all. But I thought he gave a great breakdown to this bill, because it's just what it is. And all of the AI bots said the same thing, that this is more of a benefit to the rich than it is to the people that they say that, is supposed to be America first. Let's see if I can find that. Well, what's your thoughts on that, Josh?
Over here talking on mute. Yeah, man. I mean, we always got to think about how this thing affects us, like we mentioned before. Every time when a new change happens in America, you can count on BTP to give you the breakdown through a Freedman lens, because that's what's really relevant. I mean, I think every politician needs to have a breakdown through the Freedman lens, and that's the main reason why we've been pushing for an Office of American Freedmen Affairs, or American Freedmen Affairs Agency, nationally, but also in every state. I want to give a shout out to those that have actually taken heed to that and they're actually trying to put that in place. California, I believe, has a bill, a Freedmen Affairs Agency bill that's been pushing it, and shout out to those brothers and sisters, particularly Brother Chris Larson, that's been pushing that out there, and the other freedmen. I don't want to name one name. Don't make me name everybody, but and also in Massachusetts, we have an office we have a what is it? I can't think of the bill number right now.
Uh,
HD.
well, we have two. We have HD 1696. That's for commission. You know,
Right.
that's something that we came along and had to hijack and rustle away from the Pan Africans and remix up. But
Right.
the bill to create the Massachusetts Freedmen Affairs
3870,
Agency,
something like that. What is it?
yep,
3879.
that's it, HD 3879.
Yeah, in Massachusetts. That's I mean that is a bill that is extremely powerful. I mean the language in there is 100% USA DOF approved. You know how they say USDA approved. It's the
I like
language
that.
in that bill is 100% USA DOF approved. You know, how do we know? We can go ahead and quote your boy Bernie Sanders
That's right.
because I wrote the damn bill, right? You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
That's right.
That's,
I
that's how we
wrote
know.
it there. We wrote it. We
Yeah.
wrote it.
Yeah,
We wrote it. Like we
That's
didn't
right.
come. We laid out what our strategy was going to be in this space years ago, and we told everybody that we would get to the point where we would actually be drafting up legislation, and we've done that. It's a giant step, but in our overall plan, it's a small step. We wrote that legislation.
That's right.
That's huge. That's huge. And this can be replicated across states. All we need is our people to get active. And those that are listening to this live stream, you are, for the most part, the first line of the people that can get active. And you know it. You know it. But I don't know, for whatever reason, people are choosing to try all of these other ways that don't work. People are looking for glory and fame. Like, we're not doing this for that at all. We're not doing this for that. We're doing this because our people need it. It's as simple as that, man. Our people need this. And when that bill gets passed, and it has what's called the emergency preamble annexed on it, it will go right into effect. It will not go through the 90-day waiting process that all other bills in the state of Massachusetts go through. Like, this is how important that bill is. This is how important that bill is. So it's going to be a funded state agency. And we're hoping to get this done at the federal level. And then the federal agency can absorb that state agency and any other that we get established. I want to talk to Trump. I want to sit down and have a meeting with Trump, because I don't think nobody has a plan for our people better than ours. I don't. So, you know, we shall see. We shall see. We're going to see how things play out over these next couple. And what we do know is that this bill is trash when it comes to American freedmen. It's going to hurt us. It doesn't help us at all. Doesn't help us. So if we're not going to benefit from it, then it's not needed. It's not needed. And we must take our seat at the table. And one of the ways to do that is by becoming politically active and cutting through a lot of the political talking points that we hear coming from the left and the right, for that matter. But like I said, I heard MAGA debating this earlier, and they were going at each other. Some of them, they rolling with Elon. Elon is going to start a third party called the American Party. I used to talk about this all the time. I used to want to do a third party. My brother Logic used to always say, third parties, man, is going to be impossible. We don't have the resources. You take a person that's worth $1 trillion, Josh, maybe more, worth collective. I don't know. But those are resources right there. Just saying. Those are resources right there. So, I mean, we shall see how this thing plays out. We shall see. Again, if you missed the beginning of this live stream, go back and watch it. We did a good breakdown to the one big, beautiful bill act. And like I said earlier, beauty is in the eye of the beholder because it looks ugly to us. And so far as American freedmen are concerned, looks really ugly. I'm gonna play a little bit of this Bernie Sanders piece. I don't want to play the whole thing, but I thought he broke this thing down, and I want to play some of it.
This is not a gift to the billionaire class. They paid for it. This bill is an absolute reflection of a corrupt campaign finance system which allows billionaires to buy elections. And when billionaires spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars trying to elect a president or a senator or a member of Congress.
Let me pause there because I agree with Bernie first and foremost. But there was another billionaire that spent a lot of money. And all he got was, 60 people from South Africa to come over to the United States. He didn't get the EV mandate, which this bill cuts out, which is the source of Elon and Trump's beef. It's the source. It's the source. So interesting.
They're not making that investment just for the fun of it. They want something in return. And this legislation, big time, is what they are getting in return. So what is in this bill that they invested in? Well, if you are in the top 1%, you and the class you represent will receive a $975 billion tax break. $975 billion tax break at a time when the richest people in this country have never, ever had it so good. Further, this is really quite unbelievable. If you are among the wealthiest 0.2%, not talking about 1%, talking about the top 0.2%, you will be able to pay zero taxes on your $30 million inheritance. So all of you folks out there who are waiting to inherit at least $30 million, today is a good day for you. Collectively, you will receive approximately $211 billion in tax breaks for the top 0.2%. Congratulations, you hit the jackpot. If you are a large corporation and you want to throw workers out on the street and replace them with artificial intelligence, or maybe you want to shift your profits to the Cayman Islands or other tax havens, you are going to get a $918 billion tax break. Congratulations to the CEOs of large, profitable corporations. But while the rich and large corporations make out like bandits in this bill, what does it do for low-income and working families? Well, let me say a few words on that. If you are concerned about health care, which I suspect that everybody in the world is, this bill throws over 16 million people off the health insurance they have, according to the Congressional Budget Office, by cutting Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act by over $1.1 trillion. In other words, the top 1% getting a $975 billion tax break, and that is coming directly by throwing 16 million people off of the health insurance they have. This bill, for the first time, forces millions of Medicaid recipients who make as little as $16,000 a year to pay a $35 copayment every time they visit a doctor's office. So what is the impact of all of that? You throw 16 million people off healthcare. You force people who don't have any money pay a $35 copayment. So what's the impact of it? Well, this is not my view. This is what the Yale School of Public Health and the University of Pennsylvania determined based on a study that they did. And this is the result. And it is almost so horrific, so grotesque, that it is difficult to speak about. But they estimate that if this bill goes through with all of these cuts in healthcare, if 16 million people are thrown off of the insurance they have, over 50,000 Americans will die unnecessarily every year. 50,000 Americans will die unnecessarily in order to give tax breaks to billionaires who don't need them. In other words, this bill is literally a death sentence for low-income and working-class people. Further, if this legislation is enacted, rural hospitals all over the country, and I come from one of the most rural states in America, rural hospitals are already struggling. But when you make massive cuts to Medicaid, many of them are going to shut down or not be able to provide the level of services they do today. In other words, this bill would be a disaster for rural America. It would also make massive cuts to community health centers and nursing homes who are very heavily dependent upon Medicaid funding. Bottom line is that this legislation is the most significant attack on the healthcare needs of the American people in our country's history. We already have, as everybody knows, a healthcare system which is broken, which is dysfunctional, and instead of addressing it, instead of doing what every other major country on earth does, guarantee healthcare to all people, we are throwing 16 million people off the health insurance that they have. But it's not just healthcare. The future of America rests with our children. And yet, in a nation which now has the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth, this bill wipes out nutrition assistance for millions of hungry kids in America. We are literally taking food out of the mouths of hungry kids to give tax breaks to Mr. Bezos and Mr. Musk and Mr. Zuckerberg and the other multi-billionaires. If we understand that if we're going to compete effectively in the global economy, we need to have the best education system in the world, this bill makes $350 billion in cuts in education, with the result that working class kids will find it much harder to get the higher education they need to succeed in life.
I said earlier that they always, all of these politicians start from the middle up. If it's going to be harder for the working class and middle class children to receive education, what about the poor class? Because that's the class underneath that particular class. They never speak to that class because those people typically don't vote. They are America's throwaways. And I just wanted to play this. I guess I don't need to play all of this, but I wanted to play this because I thought, even though I don't rock with Bernie Sanders, I thought he gave a excellent breakdown to everything that I researched in the one big beautiful bill act. And for the most part, everything that he said was on point. This doesn't benefit us at all. It doesn't benefit us one bit. Josh, did you have anything you wanted to share in regards to what you heard Bernie say, or just anything in general before we start winding this thing down?
Yeah, I want to say something. It's a lot of people that are experiencing disruptions in their ways of living. Not only that, their ways of making money and providing for their family. People are losing their jobs. There's a lot of jobs that will not come back. One thing that they're not talking about, I haven't heard many people talk about in government, is the role of AI in the job disruption. We know that they've been faking the funk with the employment numbers. They only want to talk about the unemployment numbers through the non-farm payrolls, talking about how many new jobs were created during that period. Well, and how many new people have exited the job market during that period. Well, we already know the gig economy has created a bunch of bogus jobs. We know that people exiting, uh, they may be exiting, but guess what? That non-farm payrolls, that the employment numbers don't take it into account, and they don't put out in front the amount of people that have been long-term unemployed. They don't even count those people as unemployed anymore. Um, so that's why we have to look at the underemployment rate or the actual employment rate to see what is the workforce contribution of the population. How many people that out of the various groups, how many people actually are of working age and ability and they don't have a job, and not through a choice of their own, or because they're not looking for a job. See, that those are the things that we need to talk about and understand how AI is disrupting that. We talked about the wealth gap already, but guess what? The AI is projected, according to McKinsey & Co., to increase the wealth gap, I believe, by $47 billion per year. What is government doing to equip the children with the necessary skills, equip the teacher with the skills to teach the children how to utilize AI, how to stay on top of it, to make sure that our freedmen children in particular are not gobbled up and affected. How do we do everything that's in our power to do as citizens to stop the spread of that? What do we do? Now McKinsey had some ideas, we have some ideas, but in the end we have representatives that are elected and they're fighting over all these bills and stuff in Congress. They need to take these things into account. We're taking them into account. We put out plans. I was in the middle while you were talking. I wasn't speaking because I've been working on building the AI app all day long, all night long, like all week. I haven't hardly been getting no sleep. But so if you heard me speak anytime over the past several weeks or several months, and I sound tired or I sound like my mind is not all the way there sometimes, that's because I ain't been getting no sleep. I've been trying to learn everything in this AI space. I've been trying to build apps. I've been trying to, not become obsolete, because guess what? It's happening. They say it's only going to be two types of people. Let me rephrase that. They say that AI is not necessarily going to replace everybody's job, but the people who know how to use AI will be replacing the people that don't know how to use AI on jobs, and it's only a matter of time. I talked to a friend of mine, and I'm not going to go too much long with this rant, Naheem, but it's just very important. I talked to a friend of mine last week, and he was saying that he knows that it's a matter of time for just before somebody comes in to their company and says, hey, he's like, I already know they can easily with AI replace my job. I'm just waiting for it to happen. I'm like, and it's unfortunate that this is going to be a reality. How this bill, and now to compound the effects of that, you have this bill here. I mean, we really have to get more politically active. We really have to be more aware. Take time to know what's going on around us and educate yourself on what are the challenges that we're facing as a group in the society. we still bear the stain of slavery, and it's just a social thing. It's not talking about your phenotype, your skin. We're talking about the consequences, the badges and incidents of slavery, which manifests itself in us being at the bottom of every socioeconomic well-being. So, I just want to say that, this is a compounding of that. What do? We got to raise hell. We have to raise hell. We have to continue to highlight this, because this is what normally happens. They make an incremental gain, like the Trump tax cuts in 2017. You have people like 50 Cent and other black super rich people that are in the extreme minority who have, through entertainment, made it cool and vogue to have to be the anomaly in the community. And I'm not knocking them per se, because we need more people in that class of people. We should have an equal share, just like everybody else in America. But then we can have a real class fight. But right now it's like we are so underrepresented. But they put those people out, and those people advocate, and they get us to kind of fall asleep. So when they make an incremental gain that has the effect of pushing us further, putting more pressure on the bottom. I always use the analogy of they said, the rising tide lifts all boats. But when you're a crab, when the tide rises, the only thing that means is you got more water and you got more pressure being put on the bottom, which is that crab. And unfortunately, the freedmen at the bottom, when more water gets added, that just increases the pressure at the bottom. So, we need to understand that every time when this stuff happens, we need to not forget about it. It can't just be folded up into the norm. This needs to be highlighted. It needs to be pressure on the politicians so they can roll this stuff back. So, the pendulum swings and it gains momentum one way, and we got to understand when it's time for the pendulum to swing the next way towards equality and justice and reparations and all that. It needs to swing that much harder. So back to you, Brother Naheem.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And while you were speaking, I was reminded of something I was researching earlier. The unemployment rate for recent college graduates has recently risen, exceeding the overall national unemployment rate and reaching its highest level in years, excluding the pandemic period. This increase is concerning because college graduates typically have lower unemployment rates compared to those with less education. Several factors, including a slowdown in hiring, particularly in the tech sector, and a potential mismatch between graduate skills and available jobs, are contributing to this trend. So even in the tech field, we're starting to see the effects of AI. AI is doing everything. AI can code. Claude is amazing. If you don't know about this stuff and you're not familiar with it, I'm going to just tell you right now, these AI bots, these AI artificial intelligent minds are amazing. They're doing the coding now. You have to pay somebody to do all of the coding work to build you an app, or depending on, before they did the drag and drop websites, build you a good website. Now, listen, man, that's taking away the tech jobs. And the people that are locked into those jobs, they're not going anywhere for the most part. Newer people can't get into those jobs. This is why we stress that back south strategy and creating that ecosystem where we are, that political and economic ecosystem where we have taken control over local politics, which essentially means we take control over the state's budgets so that we can ensure that our people whom are being trained in tech fields are keeping us ahead of the curve when it comes to AI, in the same way that the so-called tech bros are in crypto. And we're behind on all of this stuff. Every time there's a boom, we're behind. Marijuana industry, legalized after we've been locked up. I've been locked up for smoking a blunt. A blunt. I mean, how much weed is in a blunt? A half an ounce? I mean, half a gram? A gram maybe? I've been locked up. They legalized it. The first people that I know that got rich off of it were 6 white boys from Harvard that started a marijuana business. Got filthy rich off of it when it first started. Filthy rich. Filthy rich. And I've heard about stores in Detroit that had lines stretching around the corner owned by white people. We were behind. Crypto millionaires exist right now. And I go in their Twitter spaces. I watch as they give away crypto to their people that's interested and want to learn more. I've literally been in their spaces and heard them say, set you up a wallet right now. We're going to transfer you such and such. I've watched it. And if you don't have the resources to do that and you are one of us, you're not going to do that. It's like, I can't. I don't like that limiting term, but the fact of the matter is, it's not something that you can do. You can't link up with other crypto millionaires and just give away crypto every week to somebody that's joining your spaces. We're behind in everything. And that was by design. But now, in this new era of time, yeah, you want to talk about lift yourself up by your bootstraps? Okay, I got you. But this is how we're going to do it. We are going to build up our political capital by swelling the southern states with our numbers. And we're going to produce the boots with the straps that we'll put on and pull up. And that is a fact. Mark our words, that's a fact. And for those of you, man, that's again, join the email list. Go to bethepower.org. Join our other email list at usadof.org. Subscribe to our other YouTube channel, Freedmen University. We are about to start dropping a lot of content there. Support the platform right now. Cash App, $ be the power. This stuff costs us every month. The duties videos and all of this stuff costs. We pay out of pocket for damn near everything. Everything. So for those of you that are interested, here's one of our promos.
From civil rights to civic power. We are the descendants of those emancipated, still fighting, but now organizing. No more marching just for visibility. We're building political muscle, claiming public office, controlling our local economies. We're taking our rightful seat at the table, not asking. We are citizens. This is the civic power movement. Join us at Freedmen University and be part of the legacy.
This is the civic power movement. This is an upgrade from the civil rights movement. And we are like gardeners planting those seeds. And we're putting a call out to all of our people that feel that our condition as a people can be better to come join up with us. Again, that's usadof.org. That's bethepower.org. You brothers, go check out on the website bethepower.org the link that says math, men at the head. We are encouraging our men to take their rightful place as the leaders of the community and get out of this cycle that we've been mired in with this feminist nonsense that have put our men on the back burner in a way that we had no real political voice over the past several decades. That day is over and it'll never, ever come back again. So it's time to start winding this thing down, man. Again, for those of you that are, that want to support what we're doing, man, again, that's $ be the power. We got almost 500 people watching on X right now. We would love for y'all to go over to the YouTube channel, Be the Power. Click like on the video, subscribe to the video, go to the Freedmen University channel. Again, subscribe to the video, click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button. We're about to start producing a lot of educational information on Freedmen University until Freedmen University is an actual brick and mortar school. That's a part of our goals and everything that we've set out to do thus far. Let me show y'all before we get up off of here. Let me show y'all. We developed a 12-point plan. We developed a 12-point plan a few years ago. And our goal was to see this plan to fruition. And there's some points we had to reduce it to 12. So there's some things that may get swapped out as we go along, right? There's some things that may get swapped out. But I want you all to see that there are those who talk about it and there are those who are about it. So what is point number 1 of our agenda? By way of the 13th Amendment in 1865, our enslaved American ancestors were freed from private bondage nationally. Congress passed the Freedmen Acts of 1865 and 1866 on behalf of these, our freedmen ancestors. As their direct ancestors, we demand to be recognized by the federal government, excuse me, its Office of Management and Budget, and its federal directive as American Freedmen. For those of you that know, we've already been in conversations with the Office of Management and Budget, who has in fact considered our proposal. We are not just talking about it, we are being about it. What is our second demand? We demand that the federal government reestablish the Freedmen's Bureau with satellite branches in states where the Bureau is needed. These are our first 2 pieces on our list. We talk about deconfederatization. That's something that's going to come, a reconstructive freedmen agenda, which consists of a fully funded program to facilitate a state repatriation program for American freedmen. If you're familiar with Soul City, North Carolina, and Floyd McKissick, a little known civil rights giant, this is something that he was in fact involved in. I mean, this thing, we're going to move on it. We're going to move on it. Number 10, doctors have been to black women what police have been to black men. American freedmen have endured the burdens of discriminatory practices in healthcare. And so we demand policy which addresses and treats discrimination in healthcare as the urgent national matter it is. And when we say demand it, what we mean is we will write that policy, just like we wrote the policy for the Freedmen Affairs Agency in the state of Massachusetts that is being sponsored now and soon will be voted on and become a part of that state's general laws. We did not come to play. We did not come to play. And for those of you that don't know, let me see. Let me pull up some of the proof. Let's pull up some of the proof. Because I was interviewed by the Associated Press, and because of such, I made the news. I made the news. So let me share some of that. Let's share some of that. All you got to do is punch in Naheem Way, racial classifications, and you're going to get an AI overview. Now, I don't like my pictures that they chose to use, but it is what it is. Naheem Way is an advocate who suggests moving beyond traditional racial classifications, particularly regarding the terms African American and Black. He believes these terms are often conflated and that the term population group might be a more appropriate substitute for race. Way is among those providing input to the U.S. government as it considers updating racial and ethnic categories. That particular interview I did with the Associated Press was carried in many mainstream newspapers, many of them. And you can see some of them to the right of the AI overview. We did not come to play. We came to put that work in. So for those of you, the almost 500 of you that are watching on X right now, the 20 of you that are watching on YouTube, and those of you that are watching on Facebook, again, we are here to put work in and we need your help. This isn't something that only a handful of us can do. This isn't something that only a handful of us can do. This is something that's going to take a nationwide effort. This is the civic power movement. We are entering into a new phase of our freedom fighting where we are taking control over our political destinies, and we will leave it in the hands of no one anymore. No one. Don't just fight the power, become the power. And that is what we're pursuing right now. So with that said, again, Josh, did you have anything you want to share before I close this out?
That's it.
All right. So fam, you already know what it is, man. Thank you all for watching. If this message moved you in any way, again, I'm going to always say support the platform. Doing this stuff is not free and it's definitely not cheap, but we do it anyway. We do it anyway. $ be the power. You can send donations through our website, our official nonprofit, usadof.org. And just sign up for our email list. Sign up for our email list. It's time to make moves. It's time to make real live moves that the rest of our people can see, things that we can show them like I just showed you. Matter of fact, wait, one more thing. Matter of fact, because I talked about the Freedmen's Bureau and we talked about that bill, Josh. So let us show the people the bill that we have in the state of Massachusetts right now. This is that bill. HD 3879, an act establishing a Massachusetts Agency of Freedmen Affairs. And you see what I spoke to earlier. It has this emergency preamble. And when it gets enough support, it will be passed into the law. Let's view some of the text. The general laws are hereby amended by inserting after Chapter 6E the following Chapter 6F. This is about to become a part of the law in the state of Massachusetts, and it is going to greatly help our people there. Again, we're not just talking about it, we are being about it. It's time for us to fight. Not just fight the power, but for us to become the power. It is just as simple as that. We wrote this legislation. BTP, United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, wrote this legislation. We wrote it. We wrote it. So that song, you could get with this or you could get with that. Think you get with this because this is where it's at. We got to big ourselves up at some point. We can't just be modest and humble all the time. I know people don't think that we are, but we actually are. So shout out to everybody in the building, man. Shout out to all of the members of USADOF and all of the new members. We will be holding a membership meeting not this Saturday, but next Saturday. What date is that? The 12th. So be on the lookout for those emails. Honors to our brother Vince Jefferson. He said, good job tonight, BTP, man. Shout out to our family, Sister Riri in the building. Sister Isla, BTP. Isla is on deck. Our sister Dr. G is in the building. You know, and everybody that's rocking with us. Keenan Wright, what's going on? Societe, who been hating on me lately. He's been following me to Sonetta channel. I mean, this is what he put up when we was breaking down our accomplishments that we have so far. So, you know, it is what it is. You're gonna have your detractors. You have your detractors. You ain't gonna have 100% support. But all right, I'm gonna close this thing out. And you already know what time it is, fam. Don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. With that, I say peace.